Hi everyone, it's Danny. Alrighty, since we discussed yesterday about the ceramic cylinder and how it works, today we're gonna discuss about the ceramic slab and also do an update on my orchid, the Leptotes bicolor. Alrighty, so as you can see, my mount is now soaking in water. This is what I do every day. There's a reason for this. So I'm gonna tell you today about the pros and cons of this particular slab. Everything has a pro and a con. There's no middle ground really with anything you'll use. Alrighty, let's talk about the pros. So here we go. This is the ceramic slab designed for orchids. As you might have guessed, it is a slab designed for mounting orchids on it, made out of ceramic or terracotta, whatever you want to call it. Now this particular one has a little design. It tries to imitate a log. As you can see, I really like these ridges. They do direct the roots very well. And as you can see, my orchid is already starting to grow roots that grow in the crevices actually. And it's kind of soaking wet and hard to see at this moment, but it does have quite a lot of new growing tips that really do adhere to this mount and really go in the crevices. So from this perspective, it really is a material that orchids love to grow on. They do attach very well to this material due to its porosity, let's call it like that. And as a personal note, I have to say I'm getting so much in love with ceramic, really up to the point of actually trying ceramic pots for certain orchids. Anyway, you'll see what I mean. A second pro is that this material is rather porous, like all ceramic. This means that if you soak it, it can actually absorb moisture. And I did a little experiment. I soaked it in the morning and late in the afternoon, I actually went and checked it. It was still moist. And not only it was moist, it was rather cool because it kind of applies the same principle as the ceramic cylinder with the evaporative cooling. So this particular mount stays a lot more humid and more cooler than a cork slab or wood slab. And this is particularly good for warm environments or warm seasons, or for those orchids who don't really like to stay warm. The nature of the material also acts as a sort of a humidifier. There is a lot of increased humidity around the plant because the water kept inside evaporates, and also I do feel a slight change in temperature in the close proximity of this material. It's really more obvious later in the day as the water starts to evaporate. So from this perspective, it kind of works like the cylinder. And I have to say, for my particular environment, this works really, really well. And you can actually see that this material stays rather moist. Do you see the algae formation? Algae only survives on very moist, let's say surfaces or terrains or whatever you want to call them. So this is why I have so much algae formation. I do not mind the algae actually. They do no harm to the orchid and kind of give this slab a more natural effect. So I don't mind them, but it is a sign that this particular mount stays rather moist. Going back a little to the roots adhering to the material, I have some problems with cork. Depending on the orchid, depending on the surface, some roots simply do not attach to the cork. Sometimes they do, as you can see here, and then they just grow wild because they cannot attach to some sides of the cork. Anyway, I have some problems with some orchids, not all of them, and that's why some of my brassavolas currently are sitting on very flat wood actually. So from this perspective, I don't see any trouble with the ceramic slab. Actually, the roots are absolutely stuck to it. Now, because the slab tends to stay moist, you can absolutely not use any sphagnum moss or media or whatever on it. If you put the orchid right on top of the slab, it should have, theoretically, enough moisture, so you really don't need to use anything else. And I think I will remove this sphagnum moss here because it tends to degrade, actually. And the slab does not degrade, which leads me to the next pro of this particular product. It does not degrade, it does not decompose, does not smell bad, does not get acidic, does not get anything bad for the orchid. So theoretically, you can keep an orchid mounted on this slab for a lot of years. Depending on the size of the slab and the size of the orchid, it can even be a lifetime. If you have a miniature on a big slab, obviously it's gonna last you for a lifetime. So overall, I have to say, I love this product due to these pros. They do help me a lot, but this is my particular case. So you have to think about them and think if they actually help your environment in any way. Of course, it will have to be adapted. Let's say you don't have a very dry environment. You can simply spray the mount or dip the mount in water, not necessarily soak it, and the slab will now retain so much moisture. So if you have a humid environment, you can adapt it. But for dry environments, soaking this 15 minutes lasts you until noon or afternoon. Really, I would have to go as far. Of course, it depends on the thickness of the slab, but if you buy the exact same one, I can guarantee that it lasts a lot more than a cork, let's say, which is absolutely non-water retentive. Okay, so these were the pros, or the major pros that I see with it. There could be others. However, there are some cons. The biggest con with this mount is that it is heavy. I mean, you can feel it's heavy. It's a million times more heavy, let's say, than cork, which is like a feather. So, deriving from its heaviness, there could be a lot of problems with it. First one would be that you cannot soak it in a bucket necessarily, because it does not float. So as you've seen in the beginning of this video, I use a shallow tray to soak it. If you can work around this and there's no problem for you with soaking in shallow trays, this might not be a con. Also, because it is heavy, you need to be careful that it's properly stabilized where it's hanging. So if you have a flimsy way of hanging this particular device, you might have some trouble with it because it might fall. And of course, the larger the mount gets, the heavier it will get. Added with the heaviness of the orchid, it's not gonna be quite pretty if you don't properly secure this. And God forbid you hang this above your head or above a sitting area or something like that. Don't do that unless you properly secure it. I mean it. This thing can break your head, really. If it's hanging high, it will gather enough acceleration as to properly damage your head. So really, I'm serious. Be careful with this. Also, because it is heavy, if you drop this on the floor, on a rough surface, it will break. I'm pretty sure of that. This is not the most resistant material because it is porous. So if you drop this, I think it will break, and I think it's gonna become useless and you'll have to remount this orchid. And speaking about remounting, I think it will be hell to remove the roots from the crevices and from the material itself, because roots of orchids usually adhere to ceramic more than anything else, more than on wood. So it's gonna be a nightmare if you ever decide to unmount an orchid from this type of slab. So this can be a con if you intend to unmount something from a ceramic slab. Another con would be, well, algae formation. If you don't like it, if you don't particularly like the looks of things. This mount can stay quite humid and it promotes algae. If you don't like the looks of things, this is not for you. I think it is absolutely prone to getting algae. But if the benefit of staying moist is greater than having some green algae on the mount, then maybe it's not a con. So it really depends on your personal taste here. Speaking about formation, I think this is prone to getting those white stains due to fertilizer. I am not sure if this will be a major problem, like in the case of the ceramic pots. I need to get more time with this on my hands, but I think it is prone to having some salt formations on it. I am not sure though. And lastly, well, it's not a natural material, let's say. So if you are one of those persons who really likes to keep things as natural as they can, only use natural, let's say, objects with your orchids, like wood and stuff, yeah, this is not at all natural, and it doesn't really fool anybody with its looks. Of course, the algae and everything helps, but yeah, you can tell from a distance this is ceramic, this is not real, to be quite honest. But there you go, these were the pros and cons of these devices, and it's really up to each and every one of you to see if the pros are better than the cons or the cons are greater than the pros. So this way you will know if this is something you would like to have or not. Personally, I have to tell you, I am in love with this because of all these good factors it has. I can get over the algae. I actually kind of like them. They look like a sort of a mat. Also, I really like the fact that it stays moist. I like the fact that the orchid absolutely loves to creep along the ridges, and actually the orchid does quite well. I have a new growth right here. Now I have to make sure it gets to the surface. Anyway, the orchid loves it really in this heat wave. It absolutely stayed hydrated even though it's a mount. So yeah, had no issues from this perspective. This is a win for me. I will go as far as to use ceramic pots for Cattleyas in particular, because I really don't care if I break the roots, because Cattleyas lose roots regularly, unlike other orchids. And actually, clay pots do look better than plastic pots and colored pots. But anyway, that's a different subject. As a personal note, I love it. So is this something you would use or not? Let me know in the comments below, because I'm really curious to know. You can find this product at Schwerter. You can find different sizes for it. They do have quite a lot of variety. I'm not sure how much I paid for this, but you can check out the prices on their store. Oh no, actually it came with an orchid that I ordered. So anyway, I don't know the prices, but do check out the links. But I really don't think they're very, very expensive. I mean, it's ceramic, come on. So alrighty guys, thank you for watching this video. Hope you found it interesting and useful. If you liked it, then please give it a thumbs up and share it with your orchid friends. If you'd like to see more videos from me, simply subscribe to my channel. I post on a daily basis. Also, feel free to leave me questions, suggestions for videos, or whatever you wanna say to me in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you. If you click on the left side of your screen, you'll be directed to orchidnature.com, where you'll find care sheets, identification sheets, and also you can talk to us in the forum section. And on the right side of your screen, you can click to watch another orchid video. Thank you for joining. I'll see you next time. Bye!